Cars India. Hello and welcome to Overdrive. I'm Soini. Skoda will soon be launching the second generation Kodiaq, which is expected to be priced at 45 lakh rupees at showroom, and it will be locally assembled in India as well. Now, what you will get is the key features that are already available in the Kodiaq, but you will get an updated cabin and mechanicals. Here's Tuhin with all the details.
Now the new generation Kodiaq has taken quite a while to come to India. In fact, it's taken so much time that we're having to drive it in the middle of the night in, yes, what I must admit is one of the plusher bits of Mumbai. But that's only fair because this is one of the plusher cars that you can buy in India without having to shell out premium car money. So does that sense grow with the new version? What exactly is different with it? Let's find out tonight. While it's still recognizable as a Kodiaq, this new version is more extroverted. The wider grille with the studded light bar in this LK version sets it apart in this trend. The tiered lighting is also more pronounced, and while driving at night is about as effective as you might need it to be in a car. The bodywork is more pronounced, but the drag coefficient has dropped from 0.33 to 0.28, about as much as many high-end EVs. The only change dimensionally is that the Kodiaq is 59mm longer, and this shows in profile. There's a long flat look to it now, but a neat element is the kink under the contrasting D-pillar. The 18-inch aero-style wheels remain unchanged in size but are still proportionate, although we prefer the more traditional alloy wheel design available on the Sportline. Ground clearance is rated at 155mm. The rear again follows the Kodiaq theme but is brightened up with a more raked windscreen. The Skoda's C-shaped lighting has evolved to become more prominent, but you don't get a full-width setup like in many rivals. Now from the outside, the new Kodiaq does look a bit more upmarket, but really it's on the inside where there's been a massive change in how you look at this car. I mean, it's genuinely taken a few steps up in terms of how premium it feels here. And it's really bordering on luxury car territory, at least at first glance. And now that is a big statement, and I say that because of the materials. Now everything that you look at here is soft. This plastic on top, this leather finish on this LK version, all the brown bits that you see are all leather, and even on the doors that's leather. And you have this nice graining woodish kind of finish. It's not real wood, but it feels a lot like real wood, and this ambient lighting is also quite neatly highlighted. Now there are some bits that I would have liked to be a bit nicer. For example, these plastics in the lower half, I mean, I guess they could have been of a slightly nicer grade, and some of the controls like these AC vents or these dials, which I'll get to later, maybe they could have been slightly heftier. The MQB Evo allows for a more modern electronic architecture, so you now have a new 13-inch touchscreen and a 10.25-inch driver's display. The touchscreen has seamless wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay pairing, as well as inbuilt navigation. It's responsive too, but we do wish it had a more intuitive user interface. It needs quite a few swipes and taps to get to some functions. The driver's display offers more information now, but again, configuring it is not as straightforward as it could be. We keep going on and on about how touchscreens are ruining interfaces in cars, and this seems like a great solution. Now what these are rotary controls at first glance, yes, but they also double up with a lot of functions. Now, as you can see, I can change the climate with these rotaries on each side, but if I press that, then I can control the seat heating or the seat ventilation. Same for this side here. And the middle one, I can choose between the fan speed, the volume, or the drive modes. Now I can further configure these to include a few other things, but what that effectively means that a lot of these controls, which would have otherwise nowadays been buried into the menu and be quite difficult to use, are now much easier to get access to. With the new Skodas now moving to a column-mounted shifter, there's an open feel to the cabin of the Kodiaq, even though space hasn't increased from the last version. The central tunnel is now well utilized with large spaces for cups, small layered cubbies, a deep storage bin and 2 wireless chargers. There's more good storage apart from this in the 2 glove boxes and large door pockets. Now with the last gen Kodiaq, what you got in the back seat was a ton of practicality and luxury as well, and to be honest that hasn't really changed because the car itself in terms of space hasn't changed, but it has been uplifted to an extent. Now coming to the seat itself, it's quite comfortable like it always was. I have a good deal of thigh support, which is a bit of a rarity I must say in 3-row SUVs, but it's here. The cushioning is typically Skoda VW, so for the seat back, so I have these contours here, which means I'm held in place, so even if the car's moving around a little bit, I'll still be held in place, which is nice. I also have a good reclining function, so if I want to just sit back, I can do that as well. And then of course I have the center armrest. Now just like before, there's that 3-zone climate control, so I have my own climate zone here. 2 Type-C chargers, a 12-volt outlet, these AC vents. But now I think Skoda has been a bit smart, because previously we've always complained of how intrusive this central tunnel becomes in the second row of these all-wheel drive cars. So what Skoda has done is pretty smart. Of course, now I have my bottle holder here and a few more shelves to put my stuff. But I can also completely remove this. It's one of those simply clever features that Skoda keeps talking about, and it's genuinely quite clever, I must say. As before, the Kodiaq is generously equipped. Here are all the features on offer. You still have 9 airbags, but with the center airbag replacing the driver's knee airbag. The Kodiaq has a 5-star Euro NCAP rating, but ADAS isn't available on the India spec car. You do get a set of 360-degree cameras with a built-in emergency braking function, but it's a basic system, and we also wish the camera feed was of a better quality. Now, like I said earlier, the wheelbase hasn't really changed at 2791mm, which means that the third row getting into it is a very similar experience. Now, to do that, I need to slide this seat forward. That's fairly simple, and the door also opens wide. So far, it's easy. As you can see, I can step in with a little bit of crouching, and yeah. Now, very clearly, the Kodiaq, just like before, is a 5+2, although Skoda has improved headroom. So there is a bit more than earlier, although yeah, like I just said, adults will not fit here. I'm about 5'6", and the seat doesn't go fully back with me sitting here. This is about as far back as it goes. So yeah, as an adult, you really don't want to be spending any time here. A gain from the longer length is that boot space with the 3 rows up has grown by 11 litres to a usable 281 litres. This increases further to a sizable 786 litres, 21 litres more than before with the third row folded. Despite the second and third row's manual folding mechanisms, it's easy to access all of the space, especially with the pull tabs for the second row in the boot, which let you create a fully flat 1976 litre space. You also have handy hooks in the boot. Putting stuff in isn't too cumbersome either with a fairly flat and low loading lip.
Well, we'll be heading into a quick break here on the show, but coming up on the other side, we'll take the Kodiaq for a... Welcome back here with us on Overdrive. The second generation Skoda Kodiaq is available in 2 trims, the Sportline as well as the L&K trim. And both of these are powered by a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine. Tuin will tell you what it feels like to drive on road.
Now for the way the new Kodiaq drives, it won't surprise you to know that it's a familiar experience. So it's not a world of a difference from the previous car. So to start with, you have that quite familiar Skoda SUV kind of seating position. So it's not too high. It's still got that car-like theme to it. There's a lot of adjustability in the seat. Enhance my sort of thigh support with these bolsters. There's a lot of lumbar support. The cushioning is quite nicely done. So over a long period of time behind the wheel, you don't really tire. And similarly, the view right in front of you is great. You can see right down the bonnet. So it's quite easy to place this car, even though it's become a bit larger and so on, or even visually it looks a bit larger. But the one thing that is bothering me and sort of getting in the way of me driving in this very urban scenario is these new mirrors. Now they're quite large, so I can see very clearly behind me, but they create quite a large blind spot here that, say, around roundabouts or tight turns can be a bit difficult to walk around. The 2-litre turbo petrol in this new 204 PS form is a notable improvement. The double glazing on the windows help, but this motor is quieter and more refined than the earlier version. It still puts out 320 Nm and pairs with a 7-speed DCT, but it has become more drivable. But I must say that the improvements that have been made are quite noticeable, and they address the issues that we sort of faced when we drove the last iteration of these engines, the E8888 engine as they call it. So you notice that when you start off, say, from a traffic light or so on, so it's a bit easier for you to get off the line, it's a bit easier for you to keep up with traffic. So in that sense, it gives you that slightly enthusiastic bent to it, which is quite nice. This continues through the power band, but there is a linear growing rush of acceleration that makes for a more straightforward experience. As before, there's quite a step up in performance past 4000 RPM. The earlier Kodiaq would sometimes struggle with its mass, but that's been dealt with. The new Kodiaq is in fact slightly lighter than the earlier model. The gearbox seems to have become a touch more responsive too. It's a bit more alert in the regular mode than earlier, which helps when you want to power out of turns or need to pick up speed quickly. The sport mode seems as responsive as it was earlier, but seems to have become less peaky, so you can use it more often. One thing that hasn't changed is the way this car deals with our roads. On these roads, you do find that it's just like the last car, the new Kodiaq continues to be a bit noisy. So of course, you do feel those sharper, slower speed bumps, but they also thud through into the cabin, which just kind of takes away a little bit from the experience. But just like earlier, when you start picking up speed, you find that it settles down, it becomes a bit more fluid. In fact, maybe it's become a bit better at that. So just like earlier, if you want to spend a lot of time behind the wheel on driving on highways or doing intercity trips or just maybe going on road trips, then this car has that solid, steady, dependable feel that you always wanted in Skoda cars. So in that sense, really not much has changed. Now in terms of handling, now Skoda has removed that DCC adaptive damping, which to a large extent, say in day-to-day driving, you may not notice because you probably won't use anything but the comfort mode. This omission shows up to an extent when you drive the Kodiaq hard, where its mass eventually catches up with it. So you do find that in sharp turns it can roll and start to run wide. But keep speeds and your inputs in check and the Kodiaq will flow along a winding road quickly and with some engagement. The steering remains quite similar to earlier. It's light enough in city traffic to not make the Kodiaq cumbersome and weighs up with a good degree of precision as you keep going faster, so there's good engagement to be had on that front too. It's not bad at all considering how big and high this SUV is. It's not bad at all. But just going with how the engine has become a little bit more enthusiastic, it could have done with a bit of a tighter choice for you, at least in terms of the suspension setup. Now another small change that has been made over these older generations of these European-based Skoda cars is that the brakes are now a lot more progressive. Now we haven't tested them to see how effective they are compared to the earlier version, but just in daily practice, so to speak, it's a bit more linear. It doesn't have that sharp bite to it just at the beginning of its travel. So again, it's much easier to get used to if you're coming into these cars from something else. Expected to be priced from about Rs 45 lakhs ex-showroom, the new Kodiaq takes off from where the last one left off. Yes, it could have had a better resolved screen and some of the plastic quality isn't what it used to be, but the cabin feels more special regardless. The smoother new engine and the generally competent driving character continues to make this a true luxury car without the luxury price tag.
Alright guys, it's time to hit the pause button on the show right now, but come right back because on the other side we'll get you more than a quick look